Ok, ahí está recording. We can start. Or...
Give you a preface that what we do in our life, that most of the time we waste ourselves. We do not know how to utilize ourselves. Bhagavan has given sadhana, the 11 points, the 12 points. There, Bhagavan, on the fourth point, Bhagavan said, advised, stop misuse. Stop misuse means misuse of time, misuse of yourself, misuse of your mind, misuse of anything. That is very important. So there we actually lose ourselves. What we do, whatever we are doing, whatever we try to do, we always misuse ourselves. And Vedanta teaches us here, the spirituality teaches us here, that how to rectify ourselves so that we could focus on the right point and we could utilize ourselves truly, and that thing will make this world really a very lovable one. Means we will be living in a very blissful world in that way.
Ok, dice, había pensado una historia para hoy, dice, dejarme que empiece con la historia. Me venía este punto, ¿no? De qué hacemos, cómo nos damos en nuestro día a día, cómo nos damos, cómo nos entregamos en nuestro día a día. Y Bhagavan nos habla sobre esto, cómo nos utilizamos a nosotros mismos en nuestro día a día. Bhagavan nos ha dado la sadhana. En el cuarto punto de la sadhana dice, para de cometer errores, errores con el tiempo, errores en tu mente, errores en todo. Entonces esto es muy importante. Y aquí es donde tú puedes impactar. Porque si no nos perdemos a nosotros mismos. Si cometemos estos errores, nos perdemos a nosotros mismos. La espiritualidad precisamente nos dice cómo rectificarnos a nosotros mismos y así sabemos utilizarnos a nosotros mismos verdaderamente. De esta forma, este mundo es realmente bendición. De esta forma podemos experimentar este mundo de una forma amorosa y como bendición.
So the story is, there was a king, a very mighty king. He was ruling a very big kingdom, and in his kingdom things were in his control, and he was ruling the country very nicely. His kingdom was very nicely ruled. People were more or less happy or satisfied with the king. So one day, the king was also very generous, careful, who loves his fellow men like this. King was like this. His character was like this. So one day, in the morning, king was thinking that what should I do to better to rule this kingdom? Because every day, whenever he wake up in the morning, the first news, as soon as he wake up in the morning in his palace, after the good sleep, the spies, the officials, they come, they reach to the king, and every morning, they inform some trouble, some problem, something. So he was thinking that what to do, what is the best thing to do for me. So the three questions came in his mind, that what is the best time, what is the most important time, what is the best time, or what is the most important time. Question number one. Question number two, who is the most important person? And question number three, what is the most important thing to be done? So these are three questions he in his mind. These questions came, and he wanted a solution of these questions. So he approached his ministers, and they actually, whatever they answered, those answers didn't satisfy the king.
Ok. Entonces la historia trata sobre un rey que tenía y gobernaba un reinado. Y estaba el reinado en su control, la gente estaba más o menos feliz y estaba satisfecha, más o menos con el rey, vivía satisfecha. Y un día, este rey, que tenía este carácter amoroso, generoso, cuidadoso, se preguntaba qué podía hacer para gobernar este reino, porque sucedía que cuando se levantaba por la mañana, las primeras noticias que recibía, solo levantarse era siempre un problema sobre algo. Se levantaba y ya pasa esto, pasa lo otro, hay un problema. Y entonces él pensó, ¿qué puedo hacer mejor para mí con esto? Y vinieron tres preguntas a su mente. La primera es, ¿cuál es el mejor momento? ¿Cuál es el tiempo más importante? ¿Cómo manejar el tiempo? ¿Cuál es el mejor momento, el tiempo más importante? La segunda es, ¿cuál es la persona más importante? Y la tercera, ¿cuál es la cosa más importante que debe ser hecha? Y estas tres preguntas estaban en su mente y quería conocer la solución a las preguntas. Entonces aproximó a los ministros y les preguntó, y sus ministros les dieron una respuesta a cada una de las preguntas, pero él no quedó satisfecho.
And the ministers were also very intelligent. They understood that their answer to the king, these questions, didn't satisfy the king. And if the king is not satisfied, then their job probably is in danger. So they were intelligent. They said that, okay, king, we know that whatever the answer we have given to you or the advices given to you didn't satisfy you. So we could suggest you that there is a very wise person, a sage is there, just on the border of your kingdom, and there is a hill, there is a mountain. On the top of the mountain, there a sage, a very old sage, very wise person lives. He could answer your questions. He's a very wise person. So we request you to the ministers requested the king that we request you to please go to that sage of the mountain who lives on the border of your kingdom and ask the question to him.
Entonces los ministros eran muy inteligentes y la respuesta no había satisfecho al rey. Y ellos sabían que si el rey no estaba satisfecho, su trabajo corría peligro, corría riesgo. Entonces le debían dar un consejo que le satisfaciera y sabían que había un sabio en el reino que podía dar la respuesta. Entonces dijeron, hay un sabio en tu reino, arriba de esa montaña, que es un ser muy sabio y es un ser anciano y él te puede contestar. Así que te aconsejamos, te pedimos, Majestad, que vayas a encontrarte con este sabio.
So the king, he was also searching these questions very honestly. So he thought that, okay, let me go and meet a wise person. A sage is there. So let me go and meet him. So he took 20 soldiers with him, ride a horse, and with his soldiers he started to for the border of the kingdom to approach towards the mountain where that sage, the old sage, lives. So when he reached just at the feet of the mountain, a thought came to the king's mind that I'm going to a sage, so I should not take my soldiers with me, because if I go by riding the horse, this will be not very respectful, means approach to the sage. So I better walk. I'll be walking up the hill, reach at the mountain top to the sage barefoot, and then, with all respect, king wanted to show respect to the teacher. So he thought that, okay, I'll show the respect to the sage so that sage will answer me the true thing. So with his thought, he asked his bodyguards and the soldiers to stop there at the feet of the mountain, and he also came down of his horse and started climbing the mountain uphill.
Entonces el rey buscaba sinceramente las respuestas y dijo, ok, pues iré. Y así lo hizo. Se subió al caballo, fue con sus soldados llegando hasta el borde del reino, hacia esa montaña. Y cuando llegó, empezaron a subir hasta la cima de la montaña. Y ya subiendo, un pensamiento llegó a él. Si subo, no voy a subir con mis soldados porque no sería respetuoso. Entonces, mejor me bajo a pie y voy andando, y así muestro respeto al maestro y el sabio me podrá dar respuesta a las preguntas y contestar lo verdadero. Y así lo hizo. Les dijo a todos que pararan y bajó del caballo y empezó a subir andando.
King just took one. He was a king, so he took his own sword with him, and he started climbing the mountain. Uphill he goes, and he, after few hours later, 2 or 3 hours later, he got very tired, and because he was climbing up the mountain, and at last he reached the top of the mountain, and there he found a very small cave is there, and looking inside the cave he found that a very old person, very old monk is there, sage is there. He was meditating there. So king was very tired. He thought, okay, this person is meditating, so I should not disturb him. A person, when somebody is meditating, so we should not disturb him. I better wait for him to come out of the meditation, then I'll be asking him the question. So king, just on the door of the cave, he waited for the sage to come out of the meditation. He waited there with all the respect, and in that way, half an hour, 1 hour, few hours has passed. So by that time, it was evening. Sun has already set, so lights are going down, the night is coming. So there was a dilemma in the mind of the king, that what should I do now? This sage is still meditating, he's not coming out of the meditation yet. So should I wait for him to come out of the meditation, then I'll be asking him question. But by that time it will be completely dark. So that is the one question. And because it is the border of his kingdom, so he was the king, so there is a question of safety, of his own safety, because the other kingdoms may attack him. So he was in a dilemma, and he thought that if I leave now, then next day I have to come again. It would be a very tiring thing. So the king thought that, okay, when I came here once, let me wait here, let me get my questions forward to him and get the answers from him. So I'll be waiting. He decided and he stayed there.
Entonces empezó a subir la montaña y pasaron 2-3 horas y estaba muy cansado de subir la montaña. Y llegó a la cima y había una pequeña cueva, y dentro de la cueva había una persona muy pobre y era el anciano que estaba meditando allí. Y él pensó, esta persona está meditando, no le voy a molestar. Y esperó en la puerta de la cueva con todo el respeto, esperó media hora, 2 horas, y estaba llegando la noche ya. Y le vino el dilema, ¿ahora qué debo hacer? Está meditando, no le voy a despertar, no le voy a molestar, debo esperar a que él acabe, pero será completamente oscuro. Y lo cierto es que estoy en el borde del reino y corre en riesgo mi seguridad, porque si otros reyes o el reinado supiera que estoy aquí, no es seguro. Entonces, pero si me voy ahora, tengo que volver otro día. Pensaba en irse ahora, pero tenía que volver otro día y eso era muy cansado. Entonces decidió, ok, ahora estoy aquí, voy a esperar aquí a tener la respuesta y de momento me quedo aquí esperando. Eso es lo que decidió.
So king was waiting there. He started waiting for the sage to come out of the meditation, and very soon it became very dark. So he was tired, and he thought, okay, now in this night I cannot go down. So somehow I have to spend the whole night here. I have to wait for the light. So he just take off his turban and the dress and put his sword aside and uh, and just got very relaxed and comfortable, make himself very comfortable there, waiting for the monk to wake up from the meditation. So after some time later, when it was very dark and the king was very tired also, so he fell into sleep. He got into the sleep. So he got into the sleep. The next morning, very early morning, when the sun came up, the rays, the very early morning, the beautiful, smooth sun rays fell on him. The king suddenly wake up from from his sleep. He wake up. He wake up, and he found the monk is missing from there. He is not there. So he thought that where this monk has gone. So the king also came out of the cave and found from the top of the mountain his beautiful kingdom is there at the beneath the on the valley, the beautiful kingdom of his. So things are very in the very early morning. He was feeling a very pleasant thing. He was very happy. He was feeling as if it is the heaven. From the heaven, he is looking at his kingdom, and he was feeling very satisfied. This is my kingdom. So I'm nurturing this kingdom. I'm trying to make this kingdom a real great, and this kingdom from the above, it really looks very beautiful, very grandeur. So it was pleasing him. He was cherishing his feeling. He was enjoying that moment.
Ok, entonces pasó la noche y vamos que subió la montaña y que esperó y que tenía las dudas. Vale, entonces empezó a hacer oscuro, se hizo muy oscuro y ahora ya no podía bajar. Entonces decidió pasar ahí la noche, esperaré a que salga la luz del día. Y se tapó con el turbante y se hizo como una cama, un nido confortable y ahí se quedó dormido. Y entonces por la mañana, al amanecer, salió el sol y era un precioso amanecer. Se despertó con ese hermoso amanecer y vio que el monje ya no estaba allí. ¿Y dónde está? ¿Dónde está el monje? Ya no estaba en la cueva, pero se giró y vio desde la cima de la montaña el precioso reino. Y entonces se sentía muy feliz, tenía unos sentimientos muy felices, de mucha satisfacción, como si estuviera en el cielo, porque ese amanecer, la luz, el reino, realmente sentía que era un reino maravilloso y se veía hermoso y él estaba tratando de hacerlo maravilloso, pero era hermoso el reino y disfrutaba de verlo, disfrutaba de esto.
So king was on the mountain. He walked to the cliff of the mountain. He was on the edge of the cliff. From there, at the beneath of the valley, at the beneath of the kingdom, the valley is there. his beautiful kingdom is there. He was enjoying looking at his kingdom. And he actually lost himself in this pleasant feeling, just looking at his kingdom. Then suddenly he felt there's somebody at his back is tapping him, tapping on his shoulder. Then he remembers, oh, there is a monk for whom I actually came here. So the king turned back. As he turned back, he found that old monk is standing behind him with the sword of the king, what king actually left in the cave. When he wake up in the morning, he didn't pick up his sword. On his hand, the old monk is holding that sword and pointing it on his throat. So the king's position is just on the cliff. He is on the edge of the cliff on one side, and another side, that old monk is pointing the sword on his throat. So the monk smiled, and the old monk, then asks the question to the king that, my dear king, do you know that what is the best time? Who is the most important person? And what is the most important things to be done? What are the questions of the king? He came with, the monk asked the same questions to the king at that moment by putting the sword on the throat of the king. And the king was on the edge of the cliff. Means if he stepped back, if he tried to step back, it is death there. He cannot come forward because the sword is on his throat. So in that situation, king being asked the same question by the monk.
Entonces él estaba gozando de este sentimiento, él estaba disfrutando en la cima de la montaña con el paisaje y con el reino, y entonces se dio cuenta que tenía alguien en la espalda y se giró y estaba el monje apuntándole con un arma a la garganta, y el monje le sonrió y le sonrió y le dijo, mi querido rey, ¿sabes cuál es el mejor momento? ¿Sabes cuál es la persona más importante? ¿Sabes qué es lo mejor que tiene que ser hecho? Le preguntó exactamente las mismas preguntas. Y el rey pasa que si daba un paso hacia atrás se caía por un precipicio, pero si daba un paso para adelante no podía porque le estaba apuntando con el arma en la garganta al monje.
So the king, he was looking at the eye of the monk, old monk, who is pointing the sword on his throat. So by looking at the eye of the monk, the king suddenly felt a, a, a glitter in the eyes of that monk, and king understood what the monk tried to say to him. The king then smiled and bowed down to the old monk. The monk also smiled, returned back the sword, and said, and blessed him that, okay, my dear king, I bless you. So king got his answers. King came down.
Entonces el rey miró uno de los ojos del monje, lo miró profundamente y ahí vio lo que trataba de decirle. Y entonces el monje sonrió, el rey sonrió, se sonrieron y entonces bajó la arma y dijo ok. Y le dijo el monje al rey, ok, mi querido rey, te bendigo. Y entonces el rey ya había tenido la respuesta y empezó a bajar la montaña.
So the question is what the king understood. of the first question, means all the three questions. The first question, what is the best time? So what is the interpretation of the king? So to understand that, we have to imagine the situation that king is standing on the cliff. Behind him is death. In front of him is also death. So he cannot do anything. So what is the answer? What is the best time? The best time is this moment. King actually got very blank. He couldn't think about the future. He couldn't think about the past. He was just facing the death. So this moment, the answer is, what is the best moment, best time? The best time or the best moment is this moment, this very moment, when you are not actually with the past or in the future. What happened? Our mind remain either with the past or dreams about the future, plans about the future. But the truth is, we are always on the present moment. This present moment is the best moment. So that thing King understood. The first question.
Ok, entonces, ¿qué es lo que el rey entendió? El rey, la primera pregunta era cuál es el mejor tiempo y resulta que el rey tenía la muerte delante y tenía la muerte detrás, no se podía mover, tenía el arma y tenía el precipicio. Entonces el rey entendió que este es el mejor momento. En ese momento él no podía pensar cuando el monje le preguntó ni pasado ni presente, solo había ahora. Así que la respuesta fue, este es el mejor momento, ahora es el mejor momento, no hay pasado, no hay futuro.
So the second question was, who is the most important person? So what is the answer of this question? So this thing is, we have to understand very clearly. What happens? Usually what happens? What we do? That when we are dealing with somebody, when we are with some person, at that moment, the king was with the monk, and who is holding that sword on him. So at that moment, that monk is the most important person. That reflects, that actually gives the answer to the king. He understood, his interpretation happened, that whenever we are with somebody, we should understand, or we should give importance to that person. Whenever we are doing something, we should give emphasis on doing that particular thing. What we do when we are dealing with somebody, or we are talking with somebody, we inside, in our mind, we plan our thing, we plan some other thing, we think other things. But at that moment, we are with somebody. Again, when we are alone, nobody is there, at that time, we should, at that moment, actually, I am the most important person. But when I am alone, but what I do, I forget myself. I start thinking about the other things, other people, other things to do. So I do not give emphasis on me. I do not make myself important. When I'm doing something, that word doesn't become the important thing. In my mind, some other things goes on. So the spiritual teaching, it says, the present moment is the right moment, the best moment. Presently, what you are doing is give there your maximum focus, all the focus. If you are talking to somebody, focus in right way. If you are doing something, focus there right way. If you are alone with you, do not think of anything. Do not think of anything. Just try to realize you, try to be with you.
Entonces, la segunda pregunta era ¿qué persona es la más importante? Cuando tratamos con alguien, el monje era lo más importante, porque es el monje quien estaba sosteniendo el arma. Entonces, en ese momento, eso se vuelve lo más importante. Dar importancia con quien estás, dar importancia a lo que haces en ese momento, eso es lo importante, en lo que estás ahora. Cuando estamos con alguien, ponemos la mente en otra cosa. Cuando hacemos algo, ponemos la mente en algo que no es lo que estamos haciendo ahora. Cuando estás solo, tú eres lo más importante, pero te olvidas de ti mismo. Entonces piensas en hacer cosas, en gente, y no estás contigo. Cuando haces algo, no te dedicas a hacer lo que estás haciendo. La mente se va a otras cosas. Así que en el presente, el mejor momento, la mejor persona es dar el máximo foco a lo que sea que estés haciendo ahora, si estás haciendo algo. Si estás hablando con alguien, eso es lo más importante, hablar, poner el foco en eso. Y si estás contigo, estás solo, estar profundamente contigo, realizar profundamente.
So, and the third question, the third question is that what is the most important thing to do? So this was the third question. So the interpretation of king is with love, with respect, take up all the job. Whatever the job you are on your hand, with all the love, with all the respect, you should try to do that job. So at that moment, in front of him, the monk was there. So when the love and respect for the monk came, it just came on his heart, his eyes glittered. That actually makes the monk understood that king has understood his teaching. So he learned this lesson that whenever, whatever, no matter is it a big thing that I'm doing or a very little thing or the daily routine that I'm performing, whatever the thing that I'm doing or whatever whomever the person I'm dealing with, I should respect, I should love, I should take care of everything. So that is the right approach, correct approach. Why is this? Because the Vedanta says everything is Brahman, everything is God in commonly. In commonly we can understand like this, everything is God. So we should respect everything, everything, everybody, everything. And we should take care of everybody, everything. And with love and respect, we should do the things. We should perform our duty of the life. That is the answer of the third question.
Y la respuesta a la tercera pregunta, ¿qué es la cosa más importante para hacer? Con amor y respeto, todo trabajo, con todo el amor y con todo el respeto, se puede hacer, eso es lo más importante para hacer. Porque en el momento que el rey vio con amor y respeto al monje, que le miró a los ojos y realmente le pudo ver, entonces el monje se dio cuenta que el rey había entendido. Porque no importa lo que suceda, no importa si es algo rutinario, si está sucediendo algo muy grande o el tipo de persona que tienes delante, lo que quiera que estés haciendo, si lo tratas con todo respeto, entonces si tú respetas, cuidas de todo, respetas todo, esto es de lo que habla el Vedanta. El Vedanta dice que todo es Brahman, entonces debes respetar todo, cada cosa, cuidar amorosamente cada cosa con respeto. Debes ver la vida como Brahman, ver cada suceso, cada cosa como Brahman. Esta es la tercera respuesta.
So, have you understood the answer of the three questions? So we can discuss about from here. these three questions, the three answers are very important. These are the very basic of the the spiritual teachings.
¿Entendió las respuestas que se dieron? Podéis preguntar a partir de aquí. Las respuestas son 3 enseñanzas muy importantes y me gustaría que preguntarais o que compartierais o lo que os surja.
How to judge the things, that what we should do and what we should not do. So, how to judge it? The things is, there is no particular rule. One thing you have to understand, you have to listen to your heart. First thing. Second thing is with the logic. Swami Vivekananda says it very nicely. He said that a bird flies in the sky with the 2 wings. One wing is our intelligence, the logic, and the other wing is our heart. So we have to balance. With one wing, a bird cannot fly. So our life also goes with the 2 wings. We have to understand the logic, why. We have to understand why I'm doing it. So most of the time, it is being taught in spiritual world, and the guru usually says this: in life, whenever you face problem, do not take any decision instantly. Just give a pause to you. Ask yourself, should I do it? If I'm doing it, then why I'm doing it? Or if I decide not to do, then why I'm not doing it? So what is the logic behind this? Ask yourself, and then judge with the 2 wings. One is the intelligence, means with the logic, and another, listen to your heart also. So there is no such rule that you should involve in a civil protest or civic protest or not, or you should involve yourself there. This is the answer to you. Your heart will answer you. So this is the thing. But another thing is this, that what I'm gaining when dealing in this world, in this phenomenon, we used to do a lot of things. Everywhere we have to, like, if I go to a market, if I go to a shopping mall, if I purchase something, then I have to spend some money. So here also, in this phenomenon world, when I'm doing in this world, whatever I'm doing, I'll be losing something. So what cost I'm paying to myself to do the work is also very important thing to be judged. So am I spending myself, my peace, my everything there? If I'm giving it there in the protest and I'm gaining nothing, then you are doing a business loss. So you have to calculate, means everywhere. I'm not just telling a particular situation. In our life, the basic teaching is this: whatever I'm doing, we need to understand the thing correctly, what I'm investing and what I'll gain from there. What is my mission? What is my goal? With all these things, with all the logic and listening to the heart, we should reach to a point, come to a point, then we should make ourselves involved or to stop, restrain ourselves. So this is the policy of the life.
Thank you very much, Swamiji.
Marta, ¿tú entiendes el inglés? Ok, I translate. Dice Antonia, dice, quiero comentar que, bueno, ahora en la sociedad hay gente que se siente forzada por el gobierno y Y bueno, quería preguntar, no tengo muy clara la pregunta, pero a veces me siento solitaria con esto, me siento con esto, a veces quiero estar con la sadhana, quiero estar en paz, quiero estar con Dios. Entonces mi pregunta sería qué es lo que se debería hacer respecto a estar con Dios o envolverse en estas protestas y temas sociales. ¿Cómo sería? Y Swamiji le contesta, entonces aquí sería cómo juzgar, ¿no? Esto que sucede sería cómo juzgarlo, qué debo hacer y qué no debo hacer. Y no hay ninguna norma en particular. Hay una parte que es escuchar al corazón y otra parte que es la lógica. Swami Vivekananda decía que en la vida el pájaro vuela en el cielo y cada ala vuela porque tiene dos alas. Una ala es la lógica, el intelecto, y la otra ala es el corazón. Solo con una ala no puede volar. Solo con una ala no puedes ir por la vida. Así que cuando confrontas un problema, no tomes una decisión enseguida, tómate tiempo, pregúntate qué debo hacer, por qué lo debo hacer, ¿lo hago o no lo hago? ¿Cuál sería el motivo de hacerlo? Así que pregúntate a ti mismo, utiliza las dos alas, escucha el corazón y utiliza también la lógica contigo mismo. Y el corazón te contestará y la lógica te contestará. Otra cosa interesante es que estoy ganando con esto que estoy haciendo. Igual que cuando estoy en este mundo fenomenológico, funciona igual que cuando vas a un mercado o a un shopping, a un centro comercial. Porque estás gastando energía, estás gastando atención y tiempo. Entonces pregúntate lo mismo. ¿Qué es lo que estás gastando? Y si realmente tienes una recompensa con esto, son negocios perdidos. Si estás perdiendo, si no estás utilizando tu energía adecuadamente. Y así ves si realmente ganas o no ganas, si realmente va con tu misión y tu objetivo o no. Así utilizando la lógica y utilizando el escuchar el corazón, sabrás si participar o contenerte.
This is the thing, means in our life we should deal the things, everything like this. And as the story teaches us, that always the guru usually says to love yourself. Love yourself means sometimes this happens that we think that, okay, loving myself, my ignorance, when I start loving myself, my ignorance, due to my ignorance, I become very stubborn, I become very egoistic person. So Guru says that be the light, be the light, be the knowledge, with the wisdom. If you really love the wisdom, the light, the knowledge, then only you can love yourself truly. That will be beneficial not just for yourself, but it will be beneficial for the whole world, for the whole universe. So be like that. That is the goal of spirituality, to become great from a very common person. Manifesting myself to becoming great is the goal of spirituality. Swami Vivekananda says that what is the religion? It is a path it's a journey from brute man to Buddha man, a complete human being. That is the journey.
Entonces dice, esta historia lo que nos cuenta también es del amor a ti mismo. El gurú te dice, ámate a ti mismo. Te dice, ámate a ti mismo y estás en la ignorancia, pero el gurú te dice, sé luz, ama el conocimiento, ama la sabiduría. Si amas el conocimiento y hablas la sabiduría, puedes amar verdaderamente. Porque entonces no solo te amas y amas, sino que beneficias a ti y al mundo entero. Así que ese es el objetivo de la espiritualidad. Convertirte en grandioso, ser grandioso. manifestándote de una forma grandiosa. Este es el objetivo de la espiritualidad. Repetidamente decimos que el viaje es del hombre común al hombre Buda.
So, if there is no question, then we finish it here. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very
Gracias.
much. Thank you.
Thank you, Swamiji. Thank you all.
Jai
Thank you.
Bhagavan.
Jai Bhagavan.
Thank you.
Chao.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias, Aditi.